Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the most popular and least listened to podcast in the world, the Sixth Sense Media Podcast, with your host, Mike Phelan.
So, James, let's go over your defense.
What defense?
Quite the model citizen. Armed robbery, grand theft, assault, battery.
Can someone tell me what the hell is going on?
You are dead.
So where am I now then?
Limbo. It's a neutral place between heaven and hell.
There is no way that this lowlife's getting into heaven whilst I'm stuck here.
When you die, you die. You're dead. End of story. That's it. Done.
I trust you about as far as I can spit.
You smell that? That's the smell of victory.
Limbo. What is that?
Closer to hell. It's more like Jersey.
This is Mike Phelan.
Hey, Mike, this is Richard Riehle.
Hi, Richard. Sorry about that. I was on the phone with Lew, and I tried to merge the calls, but our software didn't seem to want to do it. It kept knocking the call off. I apologize about that.
No, I'm sorry. My goodness. So, how's Lew doing?
He's doing well. He said to say hi, because I figured it was you calling in. Yeah, he said hi, and he praised your performance and your look with horns in Limbo.
Well, it was so great working with him. It was such a treat. That was sort of the main thing about doing it. I had seen almost everyone in the cast except for Lucian, who I didn't know, and but the only person I'd worked with was Scotty Thompson. Mm-hmm. So it was such a treat to actually be able to work with some of these people that I'd seen and enjoyed their works for so long.
It's such a surprising cast offering in this film. I just wasn't expecting that. The more people I saw would come on screen, I'd be like, wow, this is such a diverse cast of people that you rarely get to see all together.
I know, it was amazing, and playing Phil, I got to watch everybody do their turn. That was really exciting.
It was so weird seeing you as a demon, because for all your career I've always associated with you being this nice, kindly man, and now you're this nice, kindly demon who tells very perverted jokes.
Well, you've missed some of the good ones then. I've been less than kindly a few times.
It's just whenever I see you as an actor, that's kind of what I associate you with, because you have that look, very much like my grandfather. It's like something about you two. It's just like it's so similar, and it's just like I can't misplace you being a bad person in a film just because of that personal connection, that personal familiarity that I see. But
that's wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that.
It was great seeing you inject the humor where it needed to be.
That was another point that really excited me about the doing that role, is that Mark had written all of these wonderful Shaggy Dogs jokes, and in fact too many. He had to cut one completely, and the other one he put during the credits, which I was not prepared for. I when I finally saw the screening of it, suddenly there was that one joke, that one of the jokes that I hadn't had a chance to tell during the course of the story.
I was watching it in my office this morning, and when you tell the nun joke, I was laughing so hard. People came into my office and wanted to know what I was doing. I was like, you can't watch this. Get out.
That was a pretty good. They all were also because I'm a demon. He wrote them so that they all were at least slightly off color, which was kind of fun as well.
Yeah, because if they had been tepid jokes, I don't think it would have worked as well.
Oh no, I know, not at all. But then I had that wonderful scene with Lew, as a matter of fact, where I'm saying, what is L.A. like? I've always wanted to know what the material world would be like, and he says, oh, it's a pile of shit, and I go, oh, that disappoints me because I have all of these images, and I thought that was such a wonderful bit of writing. Yeah, again, that Mark put in there right at that point where you understand that that's his torture, that's his punishment, or for being in hell, not never being able to knowing about these places but never being able to experience them.
What definitely helps is that there's no clear cut good and evil with every character. Even though you're playing a demon, there is still a level of humanity with these people. They're not just stereotypically bad people all the way through. There's something about them that you can grab onto as the audience and feel for.
Absolutely. I think Peter Jacobson comes the closest for being just a total jerk in terms of his character. But even he, you understand, and when you see him in the bar, there's that scene that there's sort of an element of he's trying to put this all together because he's working for his boss.
How did you get cast in this film? Was this part specifically written for you, or was this part of just the casting procedure?
Gosh, no. I mean, I didn't know anything about it, and I got a call from Shannon, who was the casting director, who's put me in a lot of films, but she's been just wonderful. And she said, I've got this strange film that I'm casting now, and there's a role I think you'd be perfect for. Would you be interested in reading? I said, of course. And I read it, and I said, this is great. And she said, okay, well, I'll put you in touch with Mark. And then she did. And I don't know what his original image was, but between Shannon and my chatting with him, he decided that I was going to be right for the role. So I was very excited when I got the opportunity to do it.
When James Purefoy comes on and he dons that accent, what was your reaction to that?
I almost fell out of my chair because we didn't know anything. That was the other thing. As each of these characters came in, we had no idea what their performances are going to be like, and so all of the things I'd seen him in, he's got this sort of laser focus on everything he does, and so I kind of expected that. And in fact, when we heard him walking down the hall, we went, "Oh boy, something's going to happen here." And all of a sudden, he was sort of, "Well, I don't know what I want to do about this," and you go, "Oh my God, this is incredible!" And at the same time, he's Lucifer, so it doesn't matter that he's kind of doing this laid back thing. Whatever he's gonna do, he's got full power in this courtroom, and in hell, that in his realm, and so you're constantly on edge, wondering what's going to be next, and even some of the stuff when he throws stuff back. Well, how you doing there, Phil? I haven't seen you for a while. I go, wow, yeah, okay.
I've sat across from James before in an interview session, and I'm a big guy. I've been cast as heavies before, and just having him stare at you and answer your questions so directly, I was like, I'm really scared of this man. This man is operating on a totally different level than I am.
Well, absolutely, and even when he was doing that voice and that dialect, he would look at you, and there was some disconnect, between the sort of easygoing sound that was coming out of his mouth and what he was intimating from his look at you.
Something I noticed when I finished the film and I was analyzing it in my mind, I noticed they brought your character on as a stenographer, but I don't remember you ever reading anything back.
I never there. I think there was one point where I was supposed to read something and I can't remember. They either it got cut or something else happens that I don't read it back. But no, and that's, I think that sort of fits into the idea that the A story has nothing to do with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about this trial. This trial is just to put Balthazar in this position so that he has to make a choice, and Lucifer can either get rid of him or torture him for another millennium. and it's and I think Phil says that at one point too. He says, "I'm just having such a good time. You're such wonderful people." So I don't think it matters that if you watch even some of the stuff. There's a point where I'm drinking and just kind of hitting something with one finger, and so I'm not sure how much is actually intended to be to be a record of what's going on at that point.
I noticed that too. You just tap the same key like 5 or 6 times.
Right.
Well, and drinking wormwood, which there's so much about how this is done, how it stays grounded and doesn't employ too much of the fantasy elements that make it so believable and so unique. Nothing went over the top, which I think was the best part. Because if you had come in heavy makeup and James had come in heavy makeup, I think it would have lost that touch it needed to make it palatable.
Right, and they even comment on that. Oh, you're a demon. I thought demons were red and had tails and all that. And no, we're part of whatever this universe is. however you perceive us is how your perception, and what we really are may not actually be the same, be like that at all.
Yeah, that's something that Terry Pratchett used to use in his books all the time, is the perception of death and demons and everything for mortals is just what they think they would look like. In reality, they're just god-awful. But humans can't accept that.
Definitely, or couldn't view it and continue to exist. Yeah.
What was your favorite scene, either that you were observing or you were a part of? What was your favorite part of this whole process of filming this?
Well, I mean, all of it. Mainly, like I said, it was that my favorite part was as each person came in and kind of seeing what their testimony was going to be and how they were going to present it and what their connection was to Jimmy and how the two lawyers were going to deal with it, and that was just, it was just so exciting. And then to have people like Peter come in and just be what's going on here? How come it's not done yet? I've got I don't want to talk to you. I'm not talking to you. You're just this. And then finally to see Scotty kind of stand up to him. I thought that was a wonderful moment as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you said, when Purefoy came in, and here's the guy that runs the whole show, and he's just as comfortable as can be, and because he knows he has all the power. And when it's over, fine, it's over. I don't feel bad. I don't feel like I lost. I don't feel like I won. It's just, let's move on to the next thing. And it was really, it was just so much fun to be that observer, to be that fly on the wall or mouse in the corner, while this is all going on.
Was that a real stenographer's typewriter thing?
Unfortunately, it was. And I say unfortunate because they didn't have any more tape, and so they had to be. I knew I had 2 weeks. I had to keep doing this, and they couldn't roll it back. It very strange. It was sort of an antique that the prop person, one of the many wonderful, bizarre things that he came up with, but we couldn't, like I said, we couldn't roll it back. So I had to be careful about, sometimes I'd pretending to be hitting the keys and all of that. So, but yeah, it was a real stenographer's thing from the 50s, maybe. I don't know exactly when it was from.
Aside from Limbo, what else do you have that's going to be coming out? Because I know we're stuck in a lull right now, and it seems like indie film is going to be the thing that gets us through whatever's left for the rest of this year.
No, I hope so. It's hard to say. Is the problem? There's a couple of films that are supposedly finished and are trying to find distributors, and that there's one called Moon Mansion, which actually I did before Limbo. We started shooting it, and it's a story about it's totally different, 180%. It's a story about a guy who's slipping into dementia, and before he gets to the point where he doesn't recognize people and events, he wants to have a sort of a funeral party, and with all of the people that have been important to his life that are still around, have this party, and at the end of the party, he wants to commit suicide. And so that he doesn't have to go into that hell of dementia. And his brother is a preacher, and it's like so totally against it. So he comes and is constantly he comes to his house to try and stop the party, and then to try and convince his brother not to do this. And finally, the brother invites him to the party, and he says, "I can't be part of this," and leaves. And then the brother has his party and does in fact commit assisted suicide with all sorts of people around him, and that it's a lovely film. We filmed it in a house that it was written for this house. So all of the descriptions of where things happen are describing this house that these filmmakers lived in, and that was really kind of interesting. But it was a wonderful group of people. A couple of them I'd worked with before, and it was really kind of a special film to be part of. But it's taken, as many independents do, it's taken so long to finish it, and it looks like it's getting to the point now where they're putting it out to distributors. I did one much more recently called Marfa, which I don't know if you know about Marfa, but it's a little town in southwest Texas, and a million miles from anywhere, and it's become an art installation. There's a Pravda store there, but it's just an art installation. But it has actual Pravda merchandise there, and people come and visit it and see it. But it's also famous for what they call the Marfa lights. At night, these strange lights can be seen on the horizon, and sometimes almost seem to be go right through the town. And that much is true. And then this guy wrote a fiction in a sense. He wrote the story based on Marfa, and it's and these four kids are on their way to a party, and they stop at a little western town, a little Texas town near Marfa, and they hear about it, and they decide, they want to go there, and they get there and they meet some strange people. Tony Todd, who's the mayor of Marfa, and Stelio Savante, who's this kind of guide in Marfa takes them through it, and it turns out Marfa's also famous because it's where they shot Giant, and in fact they shot a couple scenes in the hotel room where James Dean stayed while he was shooting Giant. So the kids get there and things, they see the lights and everything seems a little strange, and then they realize that they've been killed in a car crash.
Oh, man.
And Marfa is sort of their limbo, I guess.
They're purgatory. I gotcha.
Yeah. And that looks real good. And I know the director's here in L.A. right now doing finishing touches on it and hoping to get it into some sort of distribution again by the end of the year. So those are the only two I know for sure are close.
Out of all your career, which kind of productions have you felt were more rewarding to you? Were they the big Hollywood productions, or were they the independent films?
Well, it was both. It was very interesting because when I came out here in '89, and for the first year or so, I was doing what would be considered big Hollywood productions. I mean, I did The Fugitive, Fried Green Tomatoes, Free Willy, Mice and Men, and that was all wonderful and exciting, and I loved it. And then I did a couple of TV series in between, and then I did Office Space. That was
Mm-hmm.
That's something that has lived forever. 20 years later, people are still recognizing me from Office Space, which still, and because it's still being seen, people still watch it. And then I was doing another series, Grounded for Life, and during the hiatus, I was in New York doing a play, and they decided that they wouldn't need my character as a regular anymore, and that was fine. They said, well, we may bring you back, for recurring stuff, but you aren't going to be regular. And I said, okay. And so then I talked to my agent. I said, look, when I go to the theater, to the movies, I always like to see the independent films. I'm gravitated to them because there's something there's a certain passion behind them. They've been somebody's something that somebody has worked on to get made, and is there any chance that you can look into doing? Because I had never had a audition for any of these independent films, and they were very good about it. They over the summer they got me auditions for Mysterious Skin, Palindromes, and Ned Park, and for some reason I ended up getting cast in all three, and that was very exciting. And they're totally different, and the experience of doing all three of them was completely different, and that was exciting. And it was roles that I wouldn't necessarily have been cast in a bigger budget picture. And so I said let's continue to pursue that. Well, I was lucky because of doing those films, and they all got some sort of release. I got some sort of indie cred. So since then, I've been doing almost exclusively independent films, and it's been a really wonderful experience, and everyone is so different and so exciting in that way, and and that's sort of been my life since what would that have been, almost since like 2005.
Are there any roles that you've taken on that once you're done filming that you have a little bit of a hard time shaking the character, just getting out of the headspace that character puts you in?
Only Santa Claus. I think I've done.
Really?
I think I've done 12 or 14 Santa Clauses, and they're great, and they're all different. I mean, I did sort of a straight Santa Claus in Search for Santa Paws, and then I did Harold and Kumar's 3D thing, in which I did a a Santa Claus that's shot out of his sleigh, and eventually becomes a marijuana smoking crazy man. And then I did Santa Claus in a couple of TV shows. I did in 2.5 Men. I did a Santa Claus that comes on to Taylor and has a heart attack because of it. Well, and it's been, I can slip into Santa Claus in a second, partly because of that. I don't think there's any. I mean, the closest may have been I did this strange little film called it was called a number of things. When we were shooting it, we called it Dismal Swamp, and we shot it in the Dismal Swamp down in Virginia, and I think it's called Desperate Escape now, maybe, or something like that. But anyway, it was about a preacher who goes crazy, kills his family, and runs into the swamp and hides out in the swamp, and so the police are never able to find him. And some years later, these two businessmen decide to go for a camping trip in the swamp, and they kind of come upon his encampment. And so he tries to scare them away, and when that doesn't work, he kills one and captures the other, and keeps him as captive, and while he's waiting for God to tell him what to do with him. And the guy manages to escape, so he has to track him down and get him back again. And the final thing that he does is he zips him up in a sleeping bag and throws him into the swamp. So you don't know first off, you don't know what's going to happen, what ends up happening to that second businessman. And the show starts with the story starts with this deaf-mute guy coming into the swamp area, into the park area, and so he shows this card to the ranger, and the ranger says, "Oh," and gives him a map and tries to explain to him how to do it, and the guy's says thank you, essentially, and walks out. And the last shot you see after the guy's been thrown into the swamp is this deaf-mute guy from behind, leaving the park and waving at the ranger as he goes by, and then the camera comes around the other side, and it's the preacher in that guy's clothes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that, which is odd because I was a horror genre guy for a while, so I'm surprised I haven't heard about that. Maybe I'm just not thinking of the right name for it. If it's gone under so many different names, I'll have to look.
Yeah, that's the thing. It kept changing. It had a very brief theatrical release. I mean, a week or so, and then it was on DVD for a while. And again, I don't even remember under which name, but it was an interesting experience. I've been doing this film, the Ransom of Red Chief on the Universal lot, and the guy who was the head gaffer, I used to end up having lunch with him a bunch of times, and his name is Brown. I can't remember his first name. It's terrible. And he moved back to Virginia, where he was from, and he was doing a lot of shooting there. He did Last of the Mohicans, and he did I can't remember a Terry Malick film that was shot there. And anyway, so I get this call from him, and he said I've written this script, and we don't have much money, but I'd love it if you would read it, and if you'd be interested, let me know. And it was great. It's a really wonderfly written script, and he got all his crew from that he had it on these bigger films, and we went into the swamp and shot it. It was amazing.
Speaking of the lasting power of Office Space, do you consider it a good thing or a bad thing? Just how it's ingrained in pop culture.
I think it's a good thing. I was surprised. It was a terrific experience. I mean, right from the casting. The casting was hilarious. I think I went in 3 or 4 times. First time I went in, I read for both the psychiatrist and Tom Smokowski, and then after that, I was just reading for Tom, and Mike is a delight to go in and meet and audition with him, and so finally when he put the cast together, a big part of that was that he wanted people that would like to hang out together for a month, as much as anything else, and so we went down to Austin, and we had 29 days of shooting down in Austin, and he was great. He couldn't have been a better host, and the shooting experience was wonderful. I mean, it was such a terrific group of people, and shooting with Mike, and Mike kept everything moving and fun, and everything was great about it. So I was in New York doing a play when it got released. So I just went to see it on my day off in the afternoon, and I thought it turned out terrific. And so I went to my cast, and I said, look, next week on our day off, we ought to go see this movie because it really turned out well. I'm very proud of it, and it was gone. It had disappeared, and so I was doing. I came back to L.A. and I was doing a Fox show, and I ran into Mike at the upfronts for Fox shows, and I said, strangest thing has happened in the last couple of weeks. People have been stopping me on the street and quoting to me from Office Space. And he says, "Oh yeah, it just came out on DVD and blah blah blah, and it's on cable." I said, "Oh, that's great." He said, "Yeah, well, I'm glad it's finally getting seen." Well, it became this sort of phenomenon. So about 5-6 years later, Entertainment Weekly does this issue about movies that have become sort of cult favorites, and so I'm kind of paging through it, and it says 50 cult favorites. So I'm in top 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and Office Space is not mentioned at all. And I said, this is ridiculous. And I turned the page, and they said, but in a class of its own, Office Space. And it's sort of become that. I was doing the Laramie Project in shooting in Laramie, and it's a dry town, and so the only place that sold liquor on Sunday was the bar in the Best Western where we were staying. So I had the bar with a bunch of the cast from the Laramie Project, and there it was Christina Ricci. I mean, there were a lot of well-known people, and there were like 4 or 5 young women who were at the bar. They kept looking over at the table where we were, and finally they got up and they said, "Oh, they want to talk to Terry Kenny or Josh Jackson, and they came up to me and said, 'Were you in Office Space?' And I went, 'Yeah.' And they said, 'Oh my gosh, we told our boyfriend we thought that was you. Will you be here tomorrow night? They all want to come and meet you.' And I'm going, look at these people who are at this table. Are you sure I'm the one that you want to see?" But it's been like that, and I've heard stories of people working in offices now that when they quote something from Office Space and the newbie or the intern or whatever doesn't understand it, they make them go and watch it. And they have screenings of it, and they just had the 20th anniversary of it, and it still is. It's wonderful to be recognized for something that you're proud of. It doesn't seem to get in the way. Nobody's saying, "Oh, well, you're just a guy from Office Space," or, or on the other hand, they don't say, "Oh, you were in Office Space. How about doing this role?" So it's nice, but it hasn't really changed anything anymore.
I like how it stayed relevant because my 9 to 5 is in an office, and I walked into one of my employees' cubes, and he did have a TPS report posted on his wall, and I asked him why, and he said, because you make us do these pointless spreadsheets. I was like, you may think they're pointless, but the people that sign my paycheck want me to have you do them.
Exactly. Well,
the bureaucracy of an office is terrible.
Oh, and of course, Mike was writing from personal experience. That's why everything is so precise and so right. I will tell you one story. I was with a friend at he belonged to a cigar club in Beverly Hills. This is quite a few years ago actually, and so we were having a cigar and had a drink, and we're getting ready to leave, and the maitre d' came over and said, "Oh, you're going to want to wait. Sammy Hagar's coming in, and he always has all these beautiful women with him." So we ordered another drink. We waited, and sure enough, he came in with all these really good-looking, young girls, and so we're getting ready to leave, and he said, "Oh, I want to show you my humidor. It's right below Arnold Schwarzenegger's." And so he took me to the humidor, and he showed me what he had, and sure enough, the one above it said Arnold Schwarzenegger. And we're getting ready to leave, and three of the girls are walking, looking for the restroom. And they stop and say, "Oh my gosh, were you in Office Space?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Oh, can we have your autograph?" I said, "Well, yeah, of course." And they said, "Oh, and would you put down your line about the stapler?" And I said, I really was in Office Space, but that wasn't me. That was Stephen Root, and I didn't have anything to do with the stapler. And they said, "Oh, okay." I said, I'll still give you my autograph if you want it. They said, "Oh, yes, and will you put down your line about the stapler?" I said, "You tell me the line, I'll put down."
When I posted on my personal Facebook that I was probably going to be interviewing you, it was a lot of requests to ask you questions about Office Space. I was like, no, that's not what we're going to be talking about. It's like the friends I keep are family friends, people that aren't in the industry. So it's a lot of people that just don't know any better. So I couldn't blame them, but it was funny that I was predicting that was what was going to happen, and that's exactly what happened. Everyone was like, "Ask him this about Office Space and this." I was like, "No, don't do this to me." Oh. But I appreciate you taking your time to call me today. I was really looking forward to it, and when they told me it was kind of iffy if I'd be able to get you on, I was just kind of like, "Oh, I really, really hope it happens." And then when I saw you calling in, I was like, "Yes, you have made 2020 worth it."
Oh, please. Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it. This has been great fun. And now you must be somewhere in the neighborhood here, east side of L.A.
No, I used to be a long time ago. I kept a Burbank number, but I moved back to my hometown in Florida when I couldn't make it in Hollywood.
Oh, listen, it has nothing to do with being able to make it in Hollywood. It's all totally luck. Be in the right place at the right time. It has nothing to do with talent. And Florida, a lot of people I know there was a point where people were moving to Florida, to work.
Yeah, that was until our governor cut the tax loophole for Hollywood productions.
That's right. As I remember that. Yeah, because I was down in Orlando a few years ago. I did a movie down there called Bait Shop with and that was a great experience, and it was wonderful working. We had terrific crews and just staying down there was great fun. And I thought, in fact, I think they even had a rocket took off while we were there.
Yeah, it's very common. I'm on the Tampa side of the state, and you can see the rockets from here.
Ah.
So yeah, what's funny is it wasn't until after I moved back to Florida when I actually got a role on TV with my wife in a reality show.
Oh my gosh! Oh, great.
So that we both had tried so hard to make it, and it wasn't until we gave up, got married, settled down that all of a sudden we have a production crew in our house for 2 weeks. And then we're like, we don't want to ever do this again.
No, I understand that completely. I had a location person come in and look at my apartment. I didn't want to let her to come into the apartment, but evidently it was because it's right on the street. They thought they could shoot whatever they were. I can't even remember. I think it was for bones, as a matter of fact. And I made sure they wouldn't like it.
Oh yeah, that it's such a weird feeling of an invasion.
Yeah.
And especially when they have to shoot and you're not needed, you're like, you can't hang around, so you just gotta trust that everyone's not gonna touch your stuff.
Oh God, really?
And I came back and the I think it was the director was sitting on my couch with his feet on my coffee table playing my Xbox.
Oh geez.
And I was like, dude.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, I'm grateful for it. It was beneficial to us. We got a brand new front yard out of it. We got on A&E for a day.
Oh, good.
And it was fun. It didn't open any doors, but it was at least we got that little piece of what we had sought for so long.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my story, and I really appreciate getting to talk to you today. It's been great, and I hope when I see another one of your projects, I have the chance to talk to you again about it.
Absolutely, I love it, Mike. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You have yourself a good night, and stay well.
You too. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Sixth Sense Media Podcast. You can find more of our celebrity interviews and roundtable discussions on iTunes, Podbean, and SoundCloud. Be sure to check out our movie, TV, and video game coverage at sixthsense.com and fanbolt.com.